In this video, I'm going to share a little bit about the DNP portfolio. The portfolio is a document that you collect throughout your graduate program and to show how you've achieved the graduate program objectives and the DNP essentials. So we'll talk about that just a little bit in this video. So what is a DNP portfolio? Well, it does highlight your accomplishments in the DNP program. It shows evidence of your competence and your perceptions of achievements. It shows final practice synthesis and scholarship, again, reflecting things you have achieved during the program. And it shows the impact of outcomes on practice, and you particularly do that with your DNP project. So it does document achievement of the ACN Essentials of Doctoral Education for Advanced Nursing Practice, which you'll become well familiar with as we go through the program, as well as the WSU School of Nursing program objectives. So these are the essentials, and these are national essentials. And so you can see that it deals with scientific underpinnings for practice. It looks at organizational leadership and systems leadership, looks at clinical scholarship and analysis for evidence-based practice, information systems and technology, healthcare policy, interprofessional collaboration, clinical prevention and population health and health promotion type of activities, and advanced nursing practice. So throughout your DNP program, we'll be focusing on these different essentials within your coursework, and you'll have assignments related to these different essentials or fits in with them or congruent with these essentials at the national level. And then secondly, we have certainly set out some DNP program objectives that you need to achieve by the end of the program. And they're very similar. You can see some similar things as to the essentials. So looking at the sciences and how that plays into support advanced nursing practice. Again, organizational systems leadership, you see again, advanced practice competencies. Looking at critical inquiry, decision-making, and communication skills as an advanced practice nurse. So that's very important, of course. Health promotion and risk reduction. Health policy, partnerships, again, we see some similar words to the essentials, and developing evidence to determine evidence-based practice, and again, contributing to the scientific discipline of nursing. So, of course, there should be some similarities and congruency between our own program objectives and that with the ACN essentials. So what does a portfolio include? Well, it begins in this very first semester and continues throughout your program. And it is a reflection of how you've met the 8 DNP essentials and those program objectives we've just highlighted. And so what you need to do is start thinking about how to organize information, because what you'll be doing is talking about in your portfolio how you've achieved the program objectives and the DNP essentials with the particular assignments that you do in the particular courses. So you have an example here of a slide from a student that I modified slightly. So in the first column, you see the DNP essentials, the first one, scientific underpinnings for practice. And then you see the DNP program objective for WSU. And there's actually 3 of them listed there that would fit with the scientific underpinnings essential. And then in the far column, you see a student would then put into this table the particular course that they were in. You can see a couple for this semester, 899B and 899C, fit in with essential 1. And so then you can see as in the example that you can talk about how you've met or what type of assignments and what you did in that assignment that might meet this particular DNP essential and program objectives. So that's an example, and I think it will probably help you then as you start thinking about this. So the other thing you want to do is to save your files electronically. And because otherwise your portfolio can be, if you could use a 3-ring notebook, which you might use to store your things for now, if that's easiest for you, and maybe divide it with the different essentials and where you think each assignment fits, you can do that. But I also encourage you to organize yourself electronically as well. And then to make sure you have backup, because we know that thumb drives, for example, I've had several fail on me. So making sure you back that up maybe on your hard drive or periodically burn it to a DVD, for example. So make sure you back up your work no matter how you have it. And you may want to keep some paper copies as well for your own records, just so you have that. And you can always scan those if you had to. So just think about how you'll organize yourself to do this. But you would be using this particular, like in a Word document, you would use this particular template as a suggestion so that you can actually then match up all these things. And then by the end of the program, you will have spoken to each one of these. And then when you have your electronic file, this is just a sample that I created that I think might be helpful for you. So set up several folders in your electronic file. For the first is the achievement of objectives. And that would be that sample document we just looked at on the previous slide, that you would be working on that document ongoing. If you do that throughout your program, it'll be much easier than trying to create that and go through all your assignments at the end and speak to how you've met those. You may modify things at the end a little bit, but you may want to delete some things. But you can, if you do this all along, it'll make it much easier when you get to the end of your program. And then you can see I've set up a folder for each of the DNP essentials. So for each of those DNP essentials, where you've talked about in that far column on the previous table, how you've met them and in which course. So if you use a particular paper, say in N899B, then you would put that paper in this folder under DNP Essential 1. So that's kind of how you'd use each of these 8 folders then, is to store electronically the assignments you think that fit with each DNP essential. And your assignments may fit with more than one DNP essential, so you may want to put them in more than one. In the end, you may want to pare that down and decide which ones fit best with which essential. And even on that Word document in your table, you might say, I'm placing this document with Essential 1, but note it also fits with Essential 5, for example. So you could note that electronically. And I think that'll make it easier to kind of put this whole thing together. The other thing you need to do is have a log of clinical hours, and we'll talk about that on the following slides. And then I just have a catch-all other information in case there's other information you need to store on your thumb drive or electronic media. So this is just a way to help get you organized. So if we think about the log, by the national criteria, you have to have 1,000 practice hours. This is from your academic program and your project. So MSN hours for the postmaster's DNP students, those include the MSN hours. And so you may have had 500 to 700 or so hours in your MSN program. So that counts. So I would create a narrative document or a Word document, and then, or an Excel document, whichever you prefer. And I would put for example, if you're a postmaster's DNP student, put MSN hours and put in the total hours equals whatever amount that was. If you're from our program, and depending on what year you graduated, Amy McClintock in the Graduate Nursing Office can help you figure out how many hours you had totally, or your advisor can help you with that as well. For post-baccalaureate DNP students, you have practicum hours because you're gaining your specialization as you go through the program. And so we know for the post-baccalaureate DNP students, your first 2 major practica are 240 hours in length. You have before that first summer, you have the technology and assessment type class, and there's 40 hours of practicum with that. In your third major practicum is 180 hours, and then you have 2 clinical residencies that are 120 hours each. So adding those together, you'll come up with quite a few hours. So for you, I would, in your Excel or Word document, then I would, as you begin completing those hours, then you would put down, I would put down the name of the course or practicum and put the number of hours with that, and then you'll eventually have a total of that. Now, you may complete more hours than what's required by the program, but what is recognized by the program and recognized nationally is the hours that are allotted, say the 240 hours, for example. So you would put that. Project hours. So your project hours include preparation for your project. So if you are beginning to think about your project now, you're perhaps doing some literature searching related to your project topic, you begin documenting some of those hours. So this, unlike clinical hours, if it's clinically related, you're doing some things towards your project, you can count that. More than likely, you'll be getting closer to your project, your DNP Project 3 course or the Nursing N959, or maybe just the semester prior to that, maybe you'll be thinking more heavily about your project. And in either case, again, I want you to document your library hours that you're looking for literature when you're doing searching, online searching, etc. If you're making clinical connections where you're talking to key leaders in the clinical arena and trying to get buy-in for your project, or you need letters of support, or you're trying to get ideas of what may be feasible in that clinical setting, any meeting type things that you have as well, document those. But again, make sure on your Excel or your Word document that you put very specific those activities. So in case somebody questions that maybe whether something counts or not, you'll have documentation of what you did. And if something doesn't count, generally you're going to have ample hours anyway. But for postmaster's DNP students, say if you had 700 hours in your master's program, then you would need to at least have 300 hours related to your project. When you actually carry out your project for any of the students we're speaking about, postmasters or baccalaureate students, you also count the hours you're actually carrying out the project, and that usually towards the last of your semester or last couple semesters of your program. So again, you'll be tallying all those things, but again, set up a system so you can document those things well, and that will help you in the end, because it's hard to recollect this and to get it accurate when if you don't record this along the way. So this will be a good system for you to start now. So again, within your portfolio, you include examples of scholarship that represent one or more of the DNP essentials. So I've given some examples to go in those folders, electronic folders we've talked about. So papers, maybe you did an integrative review of the literature. Maybe you had some type of assignment related to management of care. Maybe you had presentations as part of your DNP program. I wouldn't put the whole individual slides of presentations just because of space and for ease of reading, whoever's reading that. So even though it's electronic, there's a lot of information that you'll be putting there. So make it easy as possible. So I would save your PowerPoint, for example, use the option of saving it as a PDF. And then when you go into the options for that, you can save it as a handout and 6 slides per page. I would recommend doing that because, again, if I'm scanning through that and reviewing your portfolio, it's easier to do that than to look at individual slides. And also we have accreditors that come in from time to time, either from state board or nationally, and also we want to make it easy for them to review what you've accomplished as well. So if you have abstracts you submitted, for example, students often present at the Graduate Research Symposium on campus, or called GRASP. Sometimes that occurs towards the end of your program, or it could be after your program, just depending on what you're doing along the way in the program that might qualify for that. Or maybe you submit abstracts for conference presentation, either maybe locally or state or regionally or nationally. We've had students do all of those. And so the abstracts submitted could be a part of that, or abstracts accepted if it's been accepted. And then again, the PowerPoint slides we mentioned. So any articles published or submitted for publication. In some of your classes, you may be developing papers that you actually submit for publication, and you may have some published along the way. So those are things that you would include as well. Other class projects or assignments like case presentations or case narratives, practice-related scholarship like QI projects or consulting projects, program evaluation types of things, and this could include and really is similar to what you do in your final project as well. So your final project should also be as part of those folders, and I don't remember that I had a folder for final project, but I would add that to your document as well. So again, the DNP portfolio evolves over time, and it really is your time to shine. It's really for you to show what you've achieved in the DNP program. And so again, by building this portfolio along the way, when some of those assignments are fresh in your mind and you can contemplate how they meet a particular DNP essential, or if you have questions about how they meet a DNP essential, then certainly you can talk about that with faculty. And so we can provide the template like I described in here to help you with this and to get you started. And so I will be posting that within Blackboard so that you can save that to your own files and begin using that to save your information as from this very beginning semester. And then secondly, again, I would suggest dedicating a thumb drive or some type of electronic media, hard drive, whatever it might be, that you can go ahead and set up a file format as I've discussed in this video. So again, the portfolio is your chance to shine, and it starts from the very beginning.